David, he's home with the stomach virus.
All right, so it's a miracle that I'm even standing here before you guys right now. And I'm very nervous. I do not like public speaking, but here we go. I got a couple of things, just background. When I was a baby, my mom went to the church, and as soon as I was able to go, and dedicated me to the Lord. So I've been his child since then. When I was in kindergarten or first grade, I'm not sure, I was at nap time. We were all laying on the floor to take a nap. And I remember praying to the Lord and asking him to see my guardian angel. And I did. It was a big white figure standing off the ground in front of me, looking down, smiling. And I closed my eyes and opened them back up, and it was gone. But I knew it was my angel. um, I've been baptized around 4 different times, different churches, and I have backsliding problems, just like everyone else does, I'm sure. But let's see what the Lord has done in my life. Well, when my son was in his mama's stomach still, they called us and told us that he had something in his brain that wasn't forming right, and he was going to either not make it or be really severely messed up mentally. Thank God he came out perfect. We prayed and prayed and prayed, and he showed up. I was in a car accident when I was in my 30s, 30s, and I was racing my friend home. We were going 90 miles an hour on Doctor's Lake. I don't know if you know that area, but it's like a 35-mile-an-hour zone with a lot of curves. And I went off the road and totaled my car. I mean, every side of it there was trees through the side holes. I took out all kinds of stuff. They said I went like 8 to 10 feet in the air before I hit some trees. And I got up, and when it stopped, I got up and stood out, and all that was wrong with me was a couple of black dots right here from the glass hit me in the face. Besides that, I was totally fine. That was the Lord. He's always been with me. Let's see. Okay. When when I was also in my 30s, this was 2017. I ended up having an episode where I had went to seizures, and I had 16 seizures within 30 minutes. I got scars in the back of my head from where I was hitting the floor and cracking my head open. I went to the hospital, ended up being put on life support for a little while. I actually was brain dead, so the doctor said, and there was nothing that anyone could do. But the Lord showed up. Here I am. I was in a coma after that for a month, and I came out of that. But while I was in the coma, I did die one time for just a couple seconds. I'm shaking, forgive me. I died, and I remember seeing this in my head. It was like, this is what I saw. I saw I was getting pulled down. I got executed somehow, okay, in this vision or whatever it was. And I was going down, and while I was going down, like through the ground, there were like black figures that were shooting like darts at me, and they would hit me. They would be painful, and they were just all around me, all trying to hurt me. And I went down, 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 and I got to like pitch black, and I saw a lot of dark gray stones and stuff, and just feeling was horrible. I was like, oh no, I knew it was hell. And as soon as that happened, it was like, bam, I all of a sudden felt myself get pulled back and just went back, back, back up, and then it was done. My cousin that I hadn't talked to in a few years before, that really close cousin of mine, he called me, after I was out of the hospital and said that he was asleep in the middle of the night, and he just sat up crying, screaming, and said that he knew I was in hell. And so he, immediately prayed, and the whole family prayed, but the Lord showed up and showed out. Always does. Here I am. Let's see. I was living in Michigan after this, and I ended up being on the streets. I was sleeping in people's bushes in their yard, or just like stairs down in the back of a restaurant, just anywhere I could get. And I got jumped by like 5 or 6 guys, and they beat the tar out of me. Like I should have died too, the doctor said, but I had 7 broke bones, 3 broke ribs, fractured sternum, and 3 breaks in my right arm. And they said someone just happened to show up. There was nobody there but these guys, but someone, I don't even know, I don't remember seeing him, but he came out of nowhere and was calling the police, so the guys, took off. That I should have been dead then too. They were going to kill me, I have no doubt. Let's see, I came back from that. I got a lot of things going on here. um,
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Oh, okay. So one time, this is my history. I struggled with drugs and alcohol a lot. And I was with a friend one time, and we went over to somebody's house. He wanted to get some more drugs, and I went with him. We walked inside and ended up getting a guy pulled out a gun, was holding it and pointed at our head, saying we couldn't go anywhere because my friend owed him money. And I had no idea about any of this. I would not have went inside or anything. But we got held for 6 hours. We were sitting there on his couch, and he had a gun. He told us we couldn't leave until somebody brought us money. And I finally just, after 6 hours, I was done with it. I prayed and I just got up and started walking towards the door. And the guy pulled the gun and put it like to my head. He was like 2 feet away. And then the other guy came over and pushed it down and said, let him go. And we walked out. And, that was not look, God again. Good Lord, let's see. Okay, some more stuff. When I was living in California just a few years ago, almost 3 years ago, I was drinking a lot, a lot. And I ended up getting 3 ulcers and they ruptured. And I did not know this until, I got rushed to the hospital and I was in the ICU for 2 weeks. Like everything was messed up in my throat, was swollen, my, intestines were swollen, my stomach bleeding, literally. And I was on life support and got out of it. Like little over 2 weeks, I got sent home. And the devil is bad, let's just say that. About 2 weeks later, a week later maybe, I was rushed back to the hospital because I had started drinking again. And I was in the ICU again for about 2.5 weeks. And just after that, I got out and I put down the alcohol. But at that same time, actually, when I was in the hospital on ICU the second time, my girlfriend that I had moved to California with went missing. She's still missing to this day. So, it's pretty weird. I wake up in ICU from basically dying almost and wake up and get a call that my girlfriend has disappeared. And yeah, that's some hard stuff to deal with there. But she still hadn't been found, so pray for her. And, sorry. Okay. Oh, this is just something I wanted to throw in there. I actually, everyone talks about God talking to them, and they say it's not necessarily a voice, but I got to experience this once. I was in jail for drinking and DUI, and I was waiting to go see my lawyer, and they told me that, my lawyer told me, that I was about to get a year in jail for this. And I went in front of the judge, and he asked me, how do you plead? And I told him I was guilty. And he said, okay, you're going home today. Bang! And I left that day after being there 2 weeks instead of the year I was supposed to do. But the part about that was pretty cool was the night before I was praying, and I was asking the Lord, to help me, to make the judges' hearts kind and stuff. And I wanted to get up. There was one other friend I had in there that was way across the room in a different bunk, and I wanted him to pray with me because we always did Bible study and prayers all day, me and him and one other guy. And I was wanting to go pray with him. It was nighttime, and I had a distant desire to go ask him to pray with me, but I didn't want to get up. I was tucked in. It was cold. I was on the top bunk, and I just decided, well, I'm just going to pray for myself. That'll work too, of course. So I was praying to myself, put my eyes shut, and I was about to go to sleep, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I felt this hand grab my leg. It was my friend, the one that I had wanted to ask to pray for me. He came over on his own after that and was praying the same prayer that I had just prayed. And I felt the Lord talk to me. That was him confirming, I got you, and I got you. And I realized that. I was happy, and I told him, you don't understand how big of a deal this is. I just was wanting to go pray with you, and I didn't, but then you show up. And so, yeah, that was, man, the Lord's always there. The Lord is always there. I don't know what it's been like a year and a half ago now. I have bipolar and paranoia, and I just issues mentally. And I was hearing voices. I went to the hospital, ended up staying there for 6 days, and I was taken off my medication. I kept telling them, I'm on this anxiety medication, and I need it, or I'm going to go through withdrawals, And for some reason, they just wouldn't give it to me. It was 6 days I'd been in the jail, and I hadn't talked to anybody. I was just laying in the room, in the bed, and I was hearing voices the whole time I was in there. They sounded like they were around the corner, sitting right there. They're all talking about me, saying all this crazy stuff that I was about to go to prison for life and to be getting raped and all this stuff. And I didn't even understand what was going on. But after 6 days, I believed it. This is my first time having an episode like that. And so I finally, I just got up after 6 days, and I was like, I'm not in the place where they force you to stay there. I can walk out if I want. So I got up and just walked out. I had on a pair of socks and some shirts. A T-shirt and a white T-shirt and some shorts. And I was walking down the road, and the whole time I'm walking down the road, every car that drives by, I can hear voices coming from the car saying, "There he is, the guy's trying to escape, get him, blah, blah, blah." And every car that went by, I could hear this. And I was hearing helicopters flying around thinking that they were after me, trying to find me. And it got so bad, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I believed it was all true. And I was about to go to jail for life and me getting raped and beat up by the guards. All this stuff was in my head. I've been hearing for days. And I picked up a piece of broken glass bottle off the side of the road, went into a little porta potty thing, and started gouging my wrist. I was like, "Lord, forgive me. I can't do this. I can't go to prison for life," and blah, 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 all these stuff I was hearing. And I started gouging my arm. I gouged it and gouged it and gouged it. And there was like blood flying up everywhere. I was like popping tendons, I remember, like popping like rubber bands, cutting through them. I went up and down, and I went side to side, both ways. And there's blood everywhere. But every time it would start pouring out, it would coagulate. And I'm like, I'm not understanding. So I do it again, and it dries back up. And I'm like, what the heck? So I kept doing it, and it kept drying up. And I'm like, this ain't right. Somebody knocked on the door finally, and I had to come out, and that poor guy, he walked into me sitting there, blood all over me and all over the urinal and stuff. But I feel like he might have been an angel, because if he didn't come and do that, I would have stayed in there and continued to gouge my arm until, eventually I succeeded. But since he came in there, I just threw me off, and I got out and just started walking down the road again, and I had blood, everywhere, all over my white shirt. I was wrapped around my wrist, and finally the police stopped me, and they sent me back to the hospital, and I got put on the right medication, and went back to normal. So, that was pretty wild. My wrist definitely should not have been drying up like that. There's no way with everything I was cutting in there. That was God too. And then see, lately the last thing the Lord's really helped me with, I've been getting closer and closer to Him, like closer than I've been in my life. I grew up in church. I grew up in church from not even remembering, and my mom taught Sunday school for years, and I was always in church. I believed, I loved, I gave my heart to God, but I was also like walking that line, and it's just recently, well, not recently, but yeah, kind of recently, I like basically in my mind, I talked to the Lord, and I rededicated myself. And not first time, but this time I have grown closer to the Lord than I ever have been. He's been doing all kinds of stuff in my life, all kinds of stuff. And just a few weeks ago, I'm on all kind of medication, for the mental stuff and anxiety. I have horrible anxiety, like if you can't tell. But I ran out of I was supposed to go to the doctor to get my medication refilled. And I went to the doctor on my date, and the office was closed down. I still don't know what happened there, but I couldn't get my medication because he was supposed to renew my prescription. And this is the same medication that before, when I was in the hospital for 6 days and they wouldn't give it to me, same medication. So I'm like, oh God, I'm about to freak out. This is the withdrawals and stuff are just insane. And you know what? I forgot to call the doctor the next day. Forgot to call him 2 days in a row, or I'd fall asleep when I was supposed to call him, and then wake up and he's already gone. But that was weeks ago, and still today I have no withdrawals from the medication. It just disappeared. That really is a miracle in itself. But I just wanted to say God is definitely real. He's there, and He's there when you don't even ask Him to be there. He helps you when you're not even walking the path completely. He's still there for you. And I just thank him for everything he's done in my life and how close I am to him now. And I just like yearn for more and more knowledge and, closer. Reading the Bible every night, which I hadn't done before. And yeah, but that's my story. And there's a lot more to it and a lot more details, but I'm trying to keep it near 5 minutes. So yeah, the Lord is good. He shows up and he shows out.